Hello everyone, Foundation Afro here, and today I will be talking about View from the Imperium, sorry, I'm gonna figure over it, by Jody Lynn Nye. Now this is a book I've actually had for a couple years. It was published in 2011, I probably had it since about then. I mainly got it just because I guess I was in the bookstore right when it got in, when it was first out, so they had it on display. And I was just looking at it, and it was kind of a goofy cover, so I just liked that. No reason other than that. I judged the book by its cover, as it were. But I finally got around to reading it, and I must say it's pretty good. So, the basic story is that far, far in the future, humanity has expanded into the galaxy, found numerous other races, and there's numerous other political I'll think of it later, but sorry, but one of the biggest political empires, I don't know, not really empires, but the biggest human empire is the Imperium. Now the second biggest human empire is what's called the Trade Union. Now, well, the Imperium has lots of different races in it, despite being a human empire. The Trade Union seems to have just humans, as far as I can tell. And the book starts off with the main character, Lord Thomas Ennis Loke Kanago. He's just doesn't have all those middle stuff in his name, just Thomas Kanago for most of the book. He's the cousin of the Empire and the son of the first Space Lord of the Imperium. So his mother holds tremendous power, and of course his cousin holds tremendous power, and his whole family is part of the Empire, really powerful, and most, if not all of them, hold some kind of command or some part in the Navy. So it starts out, he's graduated from training, he's an ensign aboard a ship on one of the fleets, the Red Fleet. I can't remember exactly what the ship is called. And during that, he's given a smaller ship to command and go to an area called Smithereen, which is it's outpost controlled by the Imperium. That's an exploded asteroid, or like I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's called Smithereen. I think it's an exploded large asteroid. And he's given command of this ship because of his power, even though he's only an ensign, and most of the people below him on the ship actually outrank him. Now, at the same time, a man named Garthad from the Trade Union, has appeared in the Castaway Cluster, and the Castaway Cluster is part of the Imperium, but it's on the very far edge of Imperium space, and because of that, and the fact that it's behind a black hole, so it's not easily accessible from the Imperium, for the last few hundred years, the Imperium has been waning in that area, So it's with that, they are deciding whether to break away from the Imperium and form their own. Geez, you think I would have thought of it now? Civilization? But at the same time, Captain Garthad from the trade union comes in and starts saying that the Castaway Cluster should instead join with the trade union. And pretty much everyone he meets, except for a few people in government, is more or less hypnotized when they see him and believe that they should join his cause and join with the trade union. Now, like I said, there are a few people within the trade union government who don't, or not a few people in the Castaway Cluster who don't think they should join the trade union and think that something is suspicious about Garthad. And at first, they're just booed. All the opinion papers and everything are say that these people are wrong, these people are crazy, we should definitely join the trade union. So at first they're just politically shunned and told they're wrong, but eventually it starts getting worse. They start disappearing, and then finally, when the main counselor we look at, one of the people who has been opposed to Garthad, Councillor Decarn, finally she gets kidnapped as well, and we see some of the true dark sides behind Garthad and the people following him. So later on in the book, Kanago, the main character, learns that one of the ways the Imperium, or the main way the Imperium keeps power, is kind of because the citizens of the Imperium are hypnotized in a way. So thousands of years before the book, humanity was almost wiped out, and the ruling power thought that, well, what we need is really good leadership and no civil war or anything, and humanity will thrive. So they changed humanity's DNA, that the leaders, as it were, by the way their faces were designed, just the way they look, they look like leaders, which is actually true today, that there's kind of a leadership face. But with the Imperium, those features were strengthened with certain genes, and then into the regular public were given genes that made this desire to look at these people as leaders was stronger. So it was actually kind of some nasty stuff that they did, but it allowed them to keep power and, in effect, keep a lot of the galaxy safe. Albeit with kind of some bad things behind it, like I said. So Kanago learns this. This is one of the deepest secrets of the Imperium that only the highest members of the government and of the Navy know. He learns this, and he learns that the Castaway Cluster has stopped sending information over the infogrid, which is basically a galactic internet. So his job is to go find out what's going on. And it gets there, they realize that Garthad has some of the Imperium genes in him, which is why he's able to control everyone so well. And it ends with Kinago making a fool out of Garthad and like making his face look all goofy in all the view screens all across the Castaway Cluster during a debate they have. And so with his face looking goofy, he doesn't have the leadership features about him, and the citizens of the Castaway Cluster realize how bad he is, and he gets arrested, yada yada yada. So what do I think of this book? I actually, like I said, I bought it just because of the fun cover it had, but I must say I liked it quite a lot. Just the goofiness to it. I always like goof things. Like, you can tell I've been goofy in some of my videos before, so that's a lot of fun. I like the multiple storylines diverging into one, coming together. And I liked also the way the multiple storylines were written, because all the parts with Kinago were written from a first-person point of view, which I'm not usually a huge fan of, but the other parts with the Castaway Cluster parts and some other parts with Kinago's aide-de-camp Parsons were written from a third-person point of view, probably more a third-person limited point of view, which is kind of interesting because the thing I don't like about first-person narrative is that you can only see the one viewpoint, which is why I'm more a fan of third-person omniscient. But the way this was written with the first person and then the different third person limited, that kind of flowed into a mix that almost felt like a third person omniscient, which I found really, it kind of worked. Like, I think I mentioned this in my review of Halo Silentium, where all different chapters were first person for a different character. That kind of flowed from the first person to third person almost, or like kind of a first person omniscient almost, which I find really neat. One of my bigger problems was with the length. It's 566 pages long, which isn't normally a problem. I don't mind long books or anything, but just the way, like the part where Kinago's in the Castaway Cluster and politically fighting against Garthad is fairly a short part in the back. So a big majority of the book is kind of just the lead up to all of that, and I thought that parts of it wore thin, especially kind of right in the middle where Kinago goes to Smithereen. He spends a lot of time there chasing after pirates. I think at the very least, that part was way too long. That could have been shortened considerably. But like I said, goofy cover. It's a very goofy book because Kanago's very full of himself and likes to document everything he does. He's kind of a joker, like he's late when he first gets on that flagship of the Red Fleet, like I mentioned earlier. He's late for dinner with the captain and the crew. I have to think of a better word for that. Sorry again. Because he's admiring himself and his new uniform and everything. So he's forced to serve detention by deleting all the useless communication on the ship and freeing up drive space and everything. So he finds all these like jokes and everything. He's laughing at them. It was a really goofy book, and I liked that. Officers, that's what I was looking for, not crew, officers. So yeah, if you're a fan of science fiction and of goofiness and even perhaps maybe a bit on, if you like politics, I think that View from the Imperium is a good book for you to try out. So you can check out your library or check out your bookstore and give it a try if you want to. That's pretty much everything. Please tell me what you thought of the video down below. Give me a like if you liked it. Give me a subscribe for more reviews on books and television and movies and video games and pretty much everything. This is Foundation Afro saying bye bye, and I will see you next time.